Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to Season 13 of Apex. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the Season 13 ALC settings. I'm also going to be going over other settings, also the FOV and settings outside of the game, so you hopefully can make your game look a little bit better, a little brighter, and not completely wash it out. I'll be going over quite a bit of things in this video. Make sure you stay to the end to get all the information that you possibly can need to find success in Season 13. I need to play Season 13 a little bit more so I can see a bit of Newcastle and make sure the information that I have is still relevant. I've been using these settings since mid-Season 12 and they still work. They're still just as good, and we're going to go over them. Alright guys, settings are really easy to understand and definitely worth looking more into, so you can do a bit better in Season 13. Things are changing in Season 13. I'm pretty sure things are going to continue to change in Season 14 as well. These are the settings that I've been using again since about mid-Season 12. These are good close to mid-range for a lot of fights. As you can see, I do not have a barrel or a stock on both of my weapons. That matters because the barrel helps you control recoil, and the stock has the addition of helping to control idle sway. Does work on weapons, does work on SMGs if you're trying to use them at long range, and I believe not having both of those attachments on your gun while you're training for the day or in firing range will definitely help with overall recoil control. With these settings, I don't have to warm up in the firing range too often, too much, or too long to get ready for my day on the game. So they definitely are really good. They reward overall crosshair placement. If you don't have good crosshair placement, these settings will definitely show you that. If you don't have good crosshair placement, it's gonna completely screw up. Once you do have it, you're on target 99% of the time, and it's really easy to use. I'm gonna go over the settings real quick, and I'm going to go over all of the ALCs and default settings all in one go. So to start, we have your interact prompt style. You're going to keep that compact. You don't want a default. If you have a default, it's going to show you all of this crap on attachments that you really don't need. So you're going to keep it compact. You don't really need a default. Button hints, I have it off. Crosshair damage feedback, I have it off. If you have it on, it's going to show a hit marker on your screen. If you really need that, if you're coming from Warzone or anything like that, you feel like you still need the crosshair to know if you've downed or killed anyone. But there's a lot of audio in the game. Sometimes the audio is a little weird, but they definitely have a really good job of telling you that you have knocked someone or killed someone very easily. So you don't really have to worry about that. You're gonna hear this really sharp zipper noise. I don't know if it sounds like a zipper to everyone else, but it definitely sounds like a zipper to me. And that is your audio indication that you have downed someone. But if your ears aren't really too good, or you are audio deficient, I would turn on the crosshair. Damage numbers, I have those stacking. Stacking is the best because it'll add up all the damage that you do in one go. It's not going to have individual damage values for every single individual bullet, so you don't have to do mental math while you're in all these gunfights trying to figure out how much damage you would do. It'll tell you how much damage you did in total. Like you see right here, it'll add it all the way up, 238. Anything other than that, it's going to stack every individual damage on top of their head, and that's too much like information on your screen you don't really need. It's going to clutter up everything, and it's not really going to be beneficial to you in the long run. Ping opacity, I have that on default. It's honestly up to you. I did have it on faded, but I could not really see pings around the map, especially dropping in the game start. So I just left it on default. It's going to have it a deep orange or a deep red, so you definitely can see it through walls or anything like that. Bitrate you're going to need. Bitrate is basically your kill feed. You always want the kill feed on. I don't know why you would want the kill feed off. Medium map rotation, I have this off. Weapon auto cycle on empty, I have it on. So when you run out of bullets on your main weapon, it'll automatically switch to your next weapon. So if you're not looking at your ammo count, I don't know if a lot of people are looking at their ammo count 24/7, especially during a fight. You're not going to be sitting there like, oh, you don't have ammo and you're firing and nothing's coming out. Unless you're really good at keeping up with that. Auto sprint, I have on. Sometimes I have it off. Most of the time I have it on now. Auto sprinting, it helps with twirling heirlooms and stuff like that. I also have the survival slot turned off as well to help with that. I just like doing it. It's not really a gameplay or skill thing. It's just something I like doing in the games from time to time. Double tap to sprint. You don't want that. Jetpack controls, specifically for Valkyrie, have it on. On is a whole lot better than toggle. Toggling, when you're trying to jump over something, the game will likely mistake you for trying to use her jetpacks, and it'll probably screw you up. So if you ever had that problem, turn this on hold instead of toggle. Incoming damage feedback is on 3D. That'll help you identify where you're being shot from. That's enough information that you need. You don't really need both. 2D is not really going to show you too much. It's not going to show you the direction you're getting shot from, but it'll tell you you're getting shot from the general direction. Take damage, close the death box. I have this off. If you have it on, it's going to close out your looting menu if you're getting shot from any direction. If you're trying to shield swap or get health at the last minute, it's going to definitely prevent you from doing that and screw you over. Having it off, it will keep you in the menu even though you're taking damage. You have to keep that in mind, because if you are looting and you are trying to armor swap or pick up health or anything like that, you are still getting shot. You're going to be in your menu, so you have to do that quickly. You really have to worry about or get used to doing that very, very fast, so you're not end up killing yourself or screwing yourself over. But it's definitely something worth changing. That's not really important. Pop-up's not that important. Streamer mode, anonymous mode, if you really need to use these, you can. It's not really important. Usage sharing I have disabled. Performance display I have on. That'll show you on the top right of the screen, if you can see up there, your FPS, ping value, packet loss, and stuff like that. So it's good for stuff that you need to know how laggy a lobby is. Club invites, blah blah blah. None of this stuff's really important. Reticle, I have a custom one of this one. I did have colorblind mode on before they allowed you to change your reticle, but since they allow you to change your reticle now, I have changed it. This is completely preference based. You don't have to use this color. You don't have to use any of this. It's whatever color your eyes familiarize themselves with the most. If you like the default red color, you can use it. If you like orange, blue, green, yellow, whatever, it's honestly up to you. That's just mine. Again, I don't use colorblind or anything here anymore. Video settings, my brightness is almost all the way up, about right there. You can copy this as well, but it's going to make your game look very bright, so you're going to need to go to your monitor settings. If you do play on a monitor, I hope you play on a monitor. If you don't play on a monitor, I also understand. But you're going to go and make sure that your brightness on your monitor is in a good spot. I think on the monitor that I have my brightness maxed out. The monitor that I have is a Predator XBL. It's an okay monitor. The only thing I don't like about this monitor is it doesn't have a sharpness filter. I know my game looks really colorful, bright, and sharp, but that's the only difference. I don't have the sharpness, but the brightness and color I do have. It's not too much color. At the same time, it's not like excessively vibrant. So like, you know, colors bleed into other colors. It's very good for my eyes specifically, so I can see everything. Field of view I have 98. It's not super high. I know a lot of people say you're going to be at a disadvantage if you're not running a high FOV. If you can't do a high FOV, whether it's because you are playing on a 60-inch TV 10 plus feet away from your TV while playing this game, or your eyes just can't really adjust to a high FOV, you don't have to run a high FOV. You can run at least a 98, so long as you're not like in 70 or way back here or anything default. You will be at a disadvantage, a huge disadvantage, especially if you're trying to improve the game overall. You're not going to be able to see anything. Someone with a higher FOV than you is going to already be at an advantage, and it's going to be a lot of advantages in this game with these settings that if you don't have them on, you're basically putting yourself up for failure. FOV ability scaling, that is off. When you're using Bloodhound or Octane and you're using his stem, his screen will zoom out. It'll increase your FOV, and that can screw up your aim. It definitely can. Because if you have a higher FOV, similar to why PC players, when they're playing keyboard and mouse, it looks like they have no recoil. That's partially because they have such a high FOV. It compensates for it. Higher FOV means less compensation for recoil control. Lower FOV is the opposite. So at random moments, if your FOV just shoots straight up, it's possible that's going to mess you up in those gunfights, and you're not really going to be... Wait, did he just fucking wave? Anyway, it's gonna screw you up in those situations if you're not really ready for it and you're not used to it. So I would recommend keeping this disabled if you don't already. Sprint view shake, you don't need it. Minimal, completely turn it off. You don't need it. Sprint view shake is incredibly unnecessary. For the volume, master volume is 70, sound effects is 100, dialogue is 20. 20 is loud enough. You can still hear character dialogue and voice lines and stuff like that. It's not completely blaring. All the important things are loud enough. Music volume overall is at 0. Lobby music is around 50. Lobby music is okay. I don't really like sitting in silence 100% of the time. I have my music volume down 100% to 0. Mainly because when you're dropping in, it's already allowed like a lot of loud noise. Now your character tells you if someone has dropped near them, and you can also hear if others drop around you. And if you have, Led Zeppelin or some shit blaring in your ear while you're dropping when the game first starts, you're not really going to hear a lot of people around you, and it's likely that someone's going to drop next to you while you're looting and kill you, and you won't even be able to hear it. So I would definitely recommend turning that all the way down to 0. This stuff, that's preference. I have all of it off. For ALCs. ALCs are the bread and butter. The whole point of this video. The great thing. Like I said, it's good for mid-range. It's good for long range. The whole time, I have not had a barrel or anything on my gun. You can use different sights and try this out. Go into the firing range. Again, don't use a barrel stabilizer or a stock. Get used to controlling the raw reactions from the guns, as well as the recoil and the idle sway you have when you don't have a stock. So for ALCs, when I don't have ALCs on, I run a 4.4. That's really comfortable for me. It's possible to translate these settings over from default to ALCs. My response curve is always classic. The only two that's worth using is classic or linear. You don't want to use fine aim or high velocity, anything like that. All those are complete trash. Don't use that stuff. It'll ruin your game, and it's honestly no point. The best of the best players use linear. If you want to use linear, please keep in mind, I only recommend linear to people who play a lot. If you clock in about 12 plus hours playing this game, use linear. If you don't do anything else but play Apex, use linear. Get used to linear because it is the most responsive. But at the same time, if you are using linear, even if you have a new controller, you will likely need some dead zone on your thumbstick. If you were lucky and you have a really good controller with 0 to no dead zone, you can turn it off, and you'll have the most responsive aim and movement in the whole entire game. You will have no issues at all. But by default, just keep it on classic. It's still really good. Movement dead zone, small, invert look off, vibration off. You turn it on if you really want to. Now for the ALCs specifically, I have a menu cursor speed here as well. Completely went over that. Target dead zone, trigger dead zone is none. Survival button off, like I said. Aim, hold, crouch is hold. You may want toggle. If you do use hold, pro tip, just so you know, if you are reviving someone at a respawn beacon, if you begin the revive while crouched, while you're holding the button, your character will immediately stand up while it's going, and then go back to crouching after you're done, after the revive is done. If that is a deal breaker for you, do not use hold. I use hold for a specific reason, for, you know, bunny hopping, stuff like that, different movement that you can use. But you don't have to use hold. You can use toggle if that's better for you. Interact, reload, tap to reload, tap to use. Stick layout is default. Button layout, if you do not have a controller that have paddles on it, use evolved. If you have a controller with paddles on it like I do, you can just stick with default. It's perfectly fine. But evolved, you will basically, it'll feel basically like you're using a controller with paddles on it. It's gonna be different buttons. It's gonna be different to get used to, but I guarantee you 100% it's a whole lot better than not, because a good portion of the Apex community, first-person shooters in general, are likely using some sort of controller with paddles on the back. Some may not. It is possible to use claw, but claw is a risk. I know a lot of good controller players play claw, but claw poses, you know, hand risks like carpal tunnel and stuff like that. You're holding your hand in a really weird way for long periods of time, and I don't really recommend that. The safest route is always the best route. You don't want to mess up your hands, because you need your hands to play. So use evolved for a while. Just use it completely. Like, don't turn on evolve, use it, don't turn it back, and get used to that. 100%. Best advice I can give you. Now, ALCs. I have my dead zone at 5, my outer threshold at 2%, my response curve is 10. 10 translates to a classic response curve in default settings. Anything smaller than 10, you're pretty much going into linear. 0 or 1 is 100% is linear. Like, you could breathe on your thumbstick and it will move. I don't use any per optic settings at all. My yaw speed is 170, pitch speed is 170, turning extra yaw is 170, ADS yaw speed is 130, ADS pitch speed is 95, ADS turning extra yaw is 30, ADS turning extra pitch is 30 as well. Target compensation is on, melee compensation on, target compensation style is default. These settings can be used for console players if you're playing on Xbox, PlayStation, whatever you're on. If you are using a controller and you're playing on PC, this also can be very useful to use. I don't play on PC, so I don't have all those other extra settings that PC players do have, but I do have this, and this is good enough for me. Word of the wise, not all Apex ALC settings are the greatest. You're not going to use these ALC settings and be the best of the best at the game. If they fit for you, if somebody else's ALC settings fit for you, that's great. If my settings fit for you, that is great. It's awesome. Like the video, subscribe. If, you know, you have God aim after using these settings. But always keep in mind that not all these settings are set in stone. You either have to get used to them, or they complement your playstyle as well. You may have to fine-tune them after you turn them to these settings to better like them, to better get used to them. I'm used to these settings because that's how I play. If you go and find Timmy's or Nice Wigs or whoever's ALC settings, and you're like, oh, these are the best ALC settings ever, and you use them, just keep in mind, it's not going to turn you into an aim god. There is no miracle cure for anything in life. But so long as you try them, you may find that they also work for you as well. You need to give them a minute to actually set in your brain and fingers to, you know, get used to all the changes. If you need to pause the video, rewind the video to get all the settings, all the numbers, stuff like that. That's all that I have specifically. I didn't want this video to run too long. These settings are really good. I've used them again since mid-season 12. And it may look like I have no recoil whatsoever, but this is what I've been using. And they're really good for season 13 right now. I may change them in the future for season 14. I will likely make another video like this if it ends up getting requested or it does very well. Or I just want to help more people if my settings ever do change. If my settings don't change and I generally keep it the same, then I'm not really going to make any big videos about it. But if you do like the video and it has helped you in any way, and if you know someone that could use this information as well, make sure you share them the video. Let them see it. Let them get this information as well. And if you want to see more Apex content or any more content like this, subscribe to the channel. I promise you that my content is good. My content is great. I do post on TikTok and Instagram and all those other places as well. So you can follow those bottom of the description. Yeah, I think I talked enough. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.